Wow. That's what I'm talking about. To Congressman Kelly, Congressman Thompson, Congressman Rentschler, all of my fellow Americans from near and far, it is great to be in a state where you refuse to lose, the Keystone State. Great comments. And we are less than 11 days away from a great victory all across Pennsylvania and all across America. And it really is great to be with all of you. Thanks for coming out on this beautiful day. It's really very humbling to see so many great people out. It's also great to be here with a couple of guys that I serve with in the Congress of the United States. Like a man who has emerged as one of the leading voices on agriculture in the United States Congress, and he's been one of the strongest supporters of our agenda every single day. Join me in thanking G.T. Thompson for being here and for all he does for Pennsylvania. And then there's this Navy veteran, served in the Pennsylvania State Senate, but I got to tell you, he's one of the leading defenders of the Constitution of the United States on the Judiciary Committee, and he's been a champion for everything we've done from day one. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Thank you, Guy. But I might be just a little bit partial to the last one. He's a son of Pittsburgh, right? But he did come to Indiana for a while. He played a little football and did a little studying at a place called Notre Dame. But he came home, run a successful family business, been an entrepreneur. He supported every worthy cause across this region. But 10 years ago, he felt the call to serve. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in Washington, D.C., and I think he might be the first person to support this president in Pennsylvania. He's one of our greatest champions on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Congressman Mike Kelly, for being here and for all you do. But it really is great to be here with all of you. Thanks for coming out. But like these three great congressmen, like all of you, I'm here for one reason and one reason only. And that is that Pennsylvania and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. You know, it's amazing to think 4 years ago, a movement was born. It was a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in Pennsylvania, you believed we could be strong again. You believed we could be prosperous again. You said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know Pennsylvania is going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. And how about that debate last night? I'm telling you. I mean, the president took the stage and he took the fight straight to Joe Biden. And President Donald Trump won that debate hands down. You know, honestly, I think the president probably said it best. You know, that he was up there opposite the stage of 47 years of all talk and no action, and Joe Biden was facing promises made and promises kept. I mean, think about it. Think about it. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that was hollowed out by devastating budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, life, liberty, and the Constitution of the United States of America. It's just incredible progress that we've made. And of course, it all starts with our national defense. The Constitution says the first duty of the federal government is to provide for the common defense, and that's just what we've done. It's incredible to think, after 8 years when Joe Biden was vice president, when we took office, we literally had a large portion of our Air Force aircraft on the ground being used as spare parts to keep other aircraft in the air. These congressmen know what I'm talking about. But when President Donald Trump stepped into the Oval Office, all that changed. President Trump has actually signed the largest investments in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We've rebuilt our military. We've restored the arsenal of democracy. And I can tell you firsthand, as your vice president and as the proud father of a United States Marine captain and the father-in-law of a United States Navy pilot, we are finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and support they deserve as they defend this nation. It's true. And it hasn't just been about supporting those who serve today. It's been about standing with all the men and women who've worn the uniform. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America saw years of scandal at the VA that shocked the conscience of our nation. It's true. I mean, we literally had America's heroic veterans passing away on waiting lists to get into VA hospitals around America. President Trump took office, he said we were going to reform the VA. President Trump has actually signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in half a century. We fired 3,000 VA employees that weren't giving our veterans the care that they earned in the uniform of the United States, and Veterans Choice is now available for every veteran in America. President Donald Trump is the most pro-veteran president in my lifetime. Before I go one step further, I've already called one out, but with the women and men who are here with us today that wore the uniform of our armed forces, would you just put your hand in the air so we can say thank you one more time? Thank you for your service. Thank you, Navy. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Army. Standing with our armed forces, standing with all who did serve in the uniform of the United States. It's a good reason to re-elect this president. But it's also one more reason why we need a decorated combat veteran, a man who loves this country and everything that's made America safe and strong throughout our history. On Capitol Hill, Pennsylvania, we need you to send Sean Parnell to the United States Congress. What a great leader. So it's been about defending our nation and standing with those who defend our country. But in our first 3 years, after Joe Biden spent 8 years trying to tax and spend and regulate and bail us back to a growing economy, President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in American history. It's true. And it's amazing to think in the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump, we cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses large and small. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We fought for free and fair trade, unleashed American energy, and in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created 7 million good-paying jobs, including 200,000 jobs right here in the Keystone State. Incredible. I mean, in those first 3 years, unemployment reached a 50-year low across the country. Lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanic Americans. and a 65-year low for women unemployment. Wages also were rising at their fastest pace in more than 10 years. And what means the most to the president and me? Wages were rising most rapidly for hard-working, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. You know, and you can sit down if you want, because I got a lot to tell you. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America actually lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. Remember? I mean, you know, Pennsylvania's a lot like where I grew up. I mean, you do two things well in this state. You make things and you grow things, right? Right? And a proud tradition of manufacturing's synonymous with the Keystone State. But the last administration, when Joe Biden was vice president, lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs, and they said they were never coming back, remember? I mean, I'll never forget the last president, about this time 4 years ago, he said those manufacturing jobs are gone for good. And then he asked, what magic wand do you have? Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. 500,000 manufacturing jobs created in our first 3 years, including 17,000 jobs right here in Pennsylvania. And when it comes to energy, so important to jobs and prosperity, and so important to Pennsylvania. You people in this state deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to crush American energy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal that would raise the cost of electricity for every home and every business in Pennsylvania. I mean, the truth is, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to abolish fossil fuels and end fracking. That would destroy hundreds of thousands of jobs just in Pennsylvania alone. And they've said they want to ban fracking over and over for the last year. And then Joe Biden comes to Pittsburgh just a few weeks ago and tried to convince people of this country that he's not for banning fracking. He actually said that our president was lying about his record. And last night during that debate, Joe Biden was denying he wants to ban fracking again. He said, show the tape. So Pennsylvania, here's the tape.
Never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel. No more, no new fracking.
I'd gradually move away from fracking.
And I think it's critically important on day one that we end any fossil fuel leases on public lands.
But like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipeline infrastructure
They want to do the same thing I want to do. They want to phase out fossil fuels, and we're going to phase out fossil fuels.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Okay, Pennsylvania, you got it? No matter what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are saying right now, you could take it to the bank. Joe Biden and the radical left are going to abolish fossil fuels, close down the oil industry, and ban fracking. But we are not going to let it happen. We're going to have more fracking, more American energy independence for this generation and generations to come. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. It's just incredible. So it's been about taxes, it's been about regulation, it's been about American energy. And even on health care. You're hearing a lot of talk about that lately, right? But you all in Pennsylvania, you remember Obamacare, don't you? I mean, Obamacare was a disaster. Remember all the lies of Obamacare? They said if you like your doctor, you can keep him. Not true. They said if you like your health insurance plan, you can keep it. Wasn't true. They said that premiums for health insurance would go down. Well, when we took office, premiums for health insurance had doubled under Obamacare. And last night, Joe Biden said in that presidential debate that, quote, not one single person lost private health insurance under Obamacare. But the truth is, more than 6 million Americans had their individual health care plans canceled when Obamacare took effect. And Joe Biden has a plan to import socialized medicine from Bernie Sanders' plan and put it right in the middle of Obamacare. They call it a public option. The president was talking about it last night. Okay? But I mean to tell you, you put a public option in the middle of that failing Obamacare, you're going to set America on an inexorable path to socialized medicine. But under President Donald Trump, we got rid of the individual mandate. We've been fighting to lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. We've lowered the cost of prescription drugs. We passed right to try at the national level. President Donald Trump and I are committed to give the American people low-cost health insurance and better access to the greatest health care system in the world, and we will do it in a way that ensures that America will never be a socialist country. The men and women of Pennsylvania, we've got a choice to make. The economy alone. I think the people of Pennsylvania deserve to know that this is a choice between a Trump recovery and a Biden depression. I mean, there's a study came out just the other day that said that under Joe Biden's economic policies, America would lose 5 million jobs, and the average household income would drop by $6,500 a year. So, over what remains of the next 11 days between now and when the polls close, you've got to ask your family members, your coworkers, your neighbors, and the friends, who do you really think can bring this economy all the way back? A career politician who wants to raise taxes, grow government, stifle our energy economy, and stifle American jobs under an avalanche of red tape? Or do you want a proven job creator who will keep cutting taxes, rolling back regulation, and unleashing American energy? So for our families, for our jobs, for a great American comeback, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. I mean, that's the choice. But it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. Beyond security, beyond prosperity. I'm proud to report President Donald Trump has stood for the rule of law every single day. We've appointed more than 200 conservatives to our federal courts at every level, and they are all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. It's true. Now, last month, we paused as a nation to rightly honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Donald Trump fulfilled his constitutional duty. And he nominated a brilliant, principled, conservative woman from Indiana to the Supreme Court of the United States. He nominated Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Oh, we're going to fill that seat. And the President and I are also going to hold these Democrats accountable to give Judge Barrett a respectful and dignified confirmation. But, you know, we had reason to be concerned. You all might remember 2 years ago when she was nominated to the Court of Appeals. Democrats on Capitol Hill and their Hollywood friends went after Judge Barrett because of her Catholic faith. I mean, the leading Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee said she was concerned about Judge Amy Coney Barrett's faith because, and I quote, she said, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And Hollywood elites have already been criticizing Judge Barrett's faith and her convictions. Well, I've got news for the Democrats in Washington and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. So the Senate started their work this week. They're going to be working all weekend long. But I'm going to tell you, you know, as Vice President, I'm also President of the Senate. And I'm going to be in that chair come Monday night when Judge Amy Coney Barrett becomes Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat, I promise you. But, you know, talking about the Supreme Court, people of Pennsylvania deserve to know. After 150 years, with 9 judges on the Supreme Court of the United States, leading Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court, adding seats to the Supreme Court so they can appoint activist liberal judges to advance their agenda using judicial power. Now, first, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris refused to answer the question of whether they'd pack the court. Remember? I asked her a couple times in our debate, and she wouldn't answer it. Then Joe said that he'd tell us after Judge Barrett was confirmed next week whether he was going to pack the court. Now he's saying that it's a live ball, but he's not going to tell us if he's going to pack the court until months after the election. I mean, come on, man. The American people deserve a straight answer, Joe. If you're running for the highest court, in the highest office in the land, you deserve to tell the American people if you're going to respect the highest court in the land. You know, but look, we all know. We all know what's going on here, don't we? I mean, they're not answering the question because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to pack the court with liberal activists who are going to legislate from the bench if somehow they win this election. But we're not going to let it happen. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years, and we're going to protect an independent judiciary for generations to come. So it's been about the rule of law. It's been about our courts and our Constitution. But it's also been about having a president who stood every day with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement all across this state and all across this country. You know, President Trump and I know what you know. Men and women who serve in law enforcement in this country are some of the best people in America. And they deserve the respect of every American every day. In fact, there's a fair amount of law enforcement that are with us here today. Would you don't mind getting on your feet and just showing them how much you appreciate the job the men and women of law enforcement do to protect and serve our families every day? Thank you. Thanks, guys. You know, all my heroes wear uniforms. Now, President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Now, for months, all Joe Biden talked about all summer long was peaceful protesters, remember? As Americans literally watched businesses in our major cities burn to the ground. I mean, it breaks my heart to hear a recent study found that Pittsburgh has seen a 53% surge in murders this past summer. And the truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the very policies that are contributing to violence in our major cities. I mean, when you start to back away from supporting those who protect and serve our families, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. Now, Joe Biden explains it all by saying that he believes America is, quote, systemically racist. And he and Kamala Harris often say they believe police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, he said yes. Absolutely. But under President Donald Trump, I'll make you a promise. We're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue, and we're going to back the blue for 4 more years. You know, the president and I know what you know. We don't have to choose between supporting the courageous men and women who serve in law enforcement and supporting our African-American neighbors and minorities and all the families in our major cities. We've been doing both for the last 4 years. I mean, we've been supporting law enforcement with more resources, more support, more coordination with state and local officials. And we've supported the highest funding ever for historically black colleges and universities. We passed criminal justice reform. We've been fighting for school choice for inner city families. And we had the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans. We've been supporting our police. We've been supporting our African American neighbors. And we're going to keep doing both for 4 more years. We're going to have law and order in every city, in every state, in this nation for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. And finally, you all deserve to know here in Pennsylvania, where the values and the traditions run deep. When Joe Biden was vice president, we saw a steady assault on religious freedom in this country. I mean, the last administration actually hauled the Little Sisters of the Poor into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the mandates of Obamacare. And Joe Biden said if he's elected, he's going to bring them back into court again. President Donald Trump, we restored the conscience rights of doctors, nurses, teachers, and religious charities, and President Trump ended the assault on the Little Sisters of the Poor, and the Supreme Court made it permanent. President Donald Trump is the greatest champion of people of faith ever in the White House in the United States, I promise you. And finally, maybe most important of all to me, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. and are calling for record increases in federal funding for abortion at home and abroad. President Donald Trump reinstated the Mexico City policy to no taxpayer dollars would ever be spent to promote abortion around the world, and President Donald Trump signed a bill to allow states to defund Planned Parenthood. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history, and we're going to stand for the right to life for 4 more years. So we accomplished so much in those first 3 years. We rebuilt our military, revived our economy, stood for law and order, liberties, and life. And none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of Pennsylvania's Republican delegation to Congress. So let me ask you a favor. Right after you vote to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years, the President and I need Pennsylvania to send G.T. Thompson, Mike Kelly, Guy Reschenthaler, and Sean Parnell to a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives and retire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. We got to do it. I mean, when you look at what we were able to accomplish when we had Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, you know what the job and the task at hand. I mean, really, in 3 short years with these great allies on Capitol Hill, only one way you can describe it. We made America great again. We did. And then 2020 arrived, and the coronavirus struck from China. But I'm here to tell you, when there were only 5 cases of coronavirus in the United States, and all of them had come in from China, President Trump did what no American president had ever done before. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. President Trump put the health of America first. Now, Joe Biden at the time said that was xenophobic, said it was hysterical. A couple days beforehand, he wrote in a major newspaper that closing travel from China or anywhere else would, quote, make things worse. But Joe got it wrong. I can tell you, as the head of the White House coronavirus task force for the last 8 months, President Trump's decision to shut down all travel from China saved untold American lives. It bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. We reinvented testing. We saw to the manufacture and the distribution of literally billions of supplies to our incredible doctors and nurses and hospitals. We developed new medicines, therapeutics that are saving lives every day. And we are on track to have the first coronavirus vaccine and tens of millions of doses before the end of this year. That's what leadership looks like. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. Now, we all have a role to play. We'll keep doing our part. And I promise you, we're going to keep making sure our incredible doctors and nurses and hospitals have all the supplies and resources they need to give the same level of care to any American that we'd want a member of our family to have. We'll keep slowing the spread. We'll keep protecting the vulnerable. We'll keep saving lives. Where Joe Biden's talking about shutting down the country, we are opening up America again. I mean, it's amazing to think on that foundation these congressmen helped us pour in those first few years. Less taxes, less regulation, more American energy. And on the basis of the $4 trillion in aid that they supported, they went to families and businesses. After we lost 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, we've already seen 11.5 million Americans go back to work, including 600,000 people right here in the Keystone State. We are opening up America again. And we are opening up America's schools. I'm proud to report to you that we just procured 100 million new 15-minute tests that we're distributing to every school nurse, every school administrator in America, so we can get our kids back in the classroom where they belong and keep them there safe and sound. And thanks to President Trump's leadership, it's not just about what's happening in the classroom. About this time tomorrow, Big Ten football is back. And the Nittany Lions will be back on the gridiron. How great is that? You know, men and women, we've been through a challenging time this year. But now we're coming to a time for choosing, aren't we? It's what brought you out here today to this parking lot. And I hope it's what takes you reaching out to neighbors and friends every day between now and when the polls close. I mean, the choice in this election has never been clearer, but the stakes have never been higher. When you look at their agenda, higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, a Green New Deal, packing the courts, defunding the police, it's clear. And Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden says that democracy is on the ballot. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also think there's things much more foundational to our country that are on the ballot. You know, in this election, here in Pennsylvania and across America, I think it's not going to be so much whether America ends up more conservative or more liberal, more Republican or more Democrat, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. It's whether we're going to chart a course of the future grounded in freedom and patriotism and our highest ideals and liberties, free market economics, free enterprise, or whether we're going to let Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the radical left take us down the road to socialism and American decline. So for our freedom, for all the ideals that have always made America great, my fellow Americans, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. It's on, Pennsylvania. And it's about what we can do with those 4 more years. As the president said, with 4 more years, we'll distribute a vaccine and we'll defeat the China virus once and for all. With 4 more years, we'll maintain America's unrivaled military might and ensure peace through strength. We'll make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world and end our reliance on China. We'll uphold life, religious liberty, and the right to keep and bear arms. And with 4 more years, we will appoint more conservatives to our courts. We will defend the Constitution, and we will drain that swamp. Oh, we're draining it. We'll hire more police. We'll ban sanctuary cities. And with 4 more years, we'll keep building that wall until we build it all. And here in this great state, where really our republic was minted, we will stop the indoctrination of our kids and we will restore patriotic education to our schools. As the President said at Mount Rushmore, we're going to teach our kids to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. You know, men and women of Pennsylvania, I'm just really honored you'd come out today. I really am. It's the greatest honor of my life to be your vice president. But I want to tell you, there was no one more surprised in Indiana when the phone rang 4 years ago than me. I didn't know this man who would become our president very well at all at the time. We just met a couple of times. But I saw in him, just like you all did, not just the vision grounded in all of America's highest ideals, but I saw the leadership qualities that could put that vision into practice. I mean, the truth is, you know, some people think we're kind of different. But we've actually become very close friends. I've served alongside this president every day. When we're traveling, we either talk late or talk early and talk late. And I can't wait to tell him about all the enthusiasm I saw here in Pittsburgh. I can't wait. But I'm here to tell you, I've seen this president every day when the bright lights and the cameras are off. And these guys will back me up who know him well. Against unrelenting opposition and attacks by the Democrats and their allies in the mainstream media. There's never been a day gone by that President Trump hasn't gotten up, turned his face like flint against the wind, and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of Pennsylvania. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on, Pennsylvania. We got to make it happen. So I got a couple things I want to ask you to do. We got a little less than 11 days left. First and foremost, first thing I need you to do is vote, Pennsylvania. Vote to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. Early voting's already started here in the Keystone State. Karen and I just turned in our ballots at an early voting site in Indianapolis earlier today. But you can get that done too. Get it done early. You can take your ballot to the Allegheny County Office Building. I checked. 542 Forbes Avenue. Room 601. Just over in Pittsburgh. Open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. On Saturday, 9 to 5. Get out there and vote, Pennsylvania. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member, bring a neighbor, bring a friend, and vote to re-elect President Donald Trump. Just get it done. Just get it done. And then after you get it done, number 2, I need you to go tell somebody. I need you to go talk to your friends at worship and at work. Say, I ran into Mike out at the airport the other day. He got off that plane, stood under a great big old flag, and just talked about everything that we accomplished in those first 3 years, making America great again. He talked about this president's leadership, how he's fought for us every day. He talked about the choice that we're facing as a country. You know, I'll always believe, just like Mike and GT did, that what happened back in 2016 When all the pundits were saying everything they're saying today, right? I tell people back in 2016, there were two types of polls. We were losing by a lot and losing by a little. Right? But the polls were wrong. Because I really believe the people of Pennsylvania were talking to each other. We were kind of turning down the sound on the national TV shows and just picking up the phone, sending out an email saying, I actually think we can be strong again. We can be respected in the world again. We can support our military. We can create jobs. We can reaffirm our commitment to all those ideals and principles enshrined in Independence Hall that day in 1787. You talked to each other, your neighbors and friends, and delivered an incredible victory. I'll never forget on election night, I was in New York City at the campaign headquarters. We had all these big TVs up on the wall. All the campaign people were around us. I'm standing here. My wife, Karen, our kids were here, and then the president's right here, and then Melania and all the Trump kids. And I got to tell you, we were standing there for hours watching the returns come in. And I'll tell you, when Indiana came in, he'd pop me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Indiana just came in." And then he'd say, "Hey, South Carolina," boom, right? And then one state after another. But I got to tell you, when Pennsylvania came in, I thought he was going to knock me down. Pennsylvania, you delivered in 16. We need you to do it again. I'm not kidding you. It's still sore. And finally, after you vote with a friend, after you spend the next 10 and a half days telling people everything we talked about here today, I'd encourage you maybe to do one more thing. If you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee from time to time, it'd be a good time to do that too. As I've traveled across this country over the last 4 years, the sweetest words the President and I ever hear are when people will look at us across the rope line, stop us at a gathering and just say, "I'm praying for you." And we hear it a lot. This is a nation of faith. And so if you occasionally avail yourself of that wellspring of strength that has always given hope to this nation, I encourage you to pray in the days ahead. And on this one, I tell you to pray with confidence. Claim those ancient words that Americans have clung to in much more challenging times than we could possibly imagine. Times when this nation was forged. Times when the Union was preserved on that battlefield in Gettysburg, here in this great state. Through great world wars and difficult days, the American people have clung to the truth that if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and turn, that he'll do like he's always done in the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land. This one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. Pray for all of the American people. It'll make a difference. So I again want to thank you for coming out today. This is a real joy to be here. And I'm going to have to slip back to Washington, D.C., and I'm headed to Florida, but I guarantee you, you're going to see a whole lot more of the president and me before this election is over. And I just know if all of us do all that we need to do every day between now and when the polls close on November 3rd, we're going to have another great day in Pennsylvania and in America. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America stronger and safer than ever before. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America more prosperous than you could possibly imagine. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America more united than ever before. And with Mike Kelly, G.T. Thompson, Guy Reschenthaler, Sean Parnell in a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives, with President Donald Trump back in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we will make America great again. Again. Thank you all very much. God bless you. God bless America. Now let's go get it done, Pennsylvania.